Hello there. Here we go. We're going to be doing, I think it's called The Last Time, a cover by, I believe his name is Sun Kim, I think. Don't remember his name. But it's an Eric Benet cover, apparently. And I'm going to do my best to kind of interpret these chords. I'm just closing some of my tabs here on my computer. And there we go. I think that should work pretty good. Okay, so this style of music, very, very popular during the, I guess you could say 40s, 50s, and 60s when you got guys like Dean Martin, um, Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, of course, Sammy Davis Jr., um, Bing Crosby, Bing Crosby, um, and all these other wonderful Andy Summers, who had his own show. He would do songs like this, like "The Shadow of Your Smile," which I don't remember how to play, but he would sing and do the whole thing. It was a very theatrical, classy thing to do. So to see that this style of music is still around, at least I've noticed in Asian countries, that it is fairly popular, because here in the United States we've kind of gravitated more towards new school rap, hip hop, and a fusion of all these things rather than being very particular. Um, so when it comes to these songs in the American context, anyway, it's kind of a faded art form to be able to play these songs and figure out how to play them. But these songs are awesome for training your ear, learning music theory, because they are jazz, soul, R&B kind of based, and it does help you learn a lot by learning this by ear. So even if this is very hard to follow, because some of these chords are pretty complex, or not complex, but they are different, and it might be a little bit different to play. Um, you can still learn a lot from it, even if it's one chord that you're like, whoa, I didn't know how to play that, or I didn't know you could do that, or do something like that. So I'm just reiterating for the sake of covering my ass, because this is a complex song. Okay, so I'm gonna split this song into, I guess you could say, about one, two, three, maybe four-ish different sections. Okay, well, actually, about five sections. There's about five sections. There's the intro, there's the verse, there's the chorus, there's this other bridge section, which is probably the easiest part to play, and there's like this other. And again, this type of music does that a lot. It's like a journey, in a movie in itself. Um, that last section is a little bit more, how can I tell you? It's a little bit more flowy. It's kind of like a what's it called? Like a reprise, I guess, of some of the other parts, and you're just changing the chords. Is basically what you're doing. Okay, so let's start with the intro, and I'm gonna play it through one time, and then I'll show you what the heck I'm doing. So it sounds sort of like this. And then it goes into the verse. Okay. Sorry about that. So we have the very, very, very first chord is a bar chord. So it's helpful if you know how to play bar chords. If not, I'll tell you what the heck I'm doing anyway. So I'm barring the whole entire 10th fret, A string to the high E, and this is called a G major 7 chord. You play the root, which is the 10th fret of the A string. You play what's called the 5th, which is a 5th interval of that note, which would be the, what is that, D? 12th fret of the D string. 11th fret of of the G string is an F sharp. And then we have 12th fret with your pinky on the B string, which would be a B. And then 10th fret is a D on top here of the E. Since you're barring here, you have these 4 notes, or 5 notes. Should sound like that, okay? So you can kind of, I'm just using my fingers. I'm not using a pick, so I'm doing this kind of thing. And what I'm doing here is I'm using my thumb to play the A string, my first finger on my right hand to play the G, my middle finger to play the B string, and then my ring finger to play the high E. So I'm actually just playing 4 notes of that chord. I'm not playing all 5. You can strike, you know, and do whatever, but I'm just doing these. And then the next chord looks like this. Use your thumb on the 12th fret of the low E. You mute the A string. You don't even play it, actually. And you bar from the G string down to the high E string, 12th fret. So it should sound like this. But what you're doing is you're only going to play... oh, and then you add your middle finger 13th fret on the B. So it sounds like that. Okay? But you're only going to play 3 notes. You're only going to play the low E, the G, and the B. So it should sound like this. Right? The next chord is just removing your middle finger and then barring the 12th fret, G and B. Like that. So it should sound like this. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so it goes dun 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 dun. So it kind of plays it one more time before you go down to the next chord. The next chord is kind of like a G major 9. I kind of just think of it as like a major 7 chord. And it's just those 3 notes. So it's a low E, 8th fret, and I'm using my thumb. First finger is on the 7th fret of the G, and then middle finger's on the 8th fret of the B. Okay, so that's our C chord, like a 9 chord. It's a pretty little chord. I like to play it like this. I usually play it like that, like that. Sounds pretty. I like to have that D on top. But it's just 3 notes. Okay, just like that. So again, here's from the beginning. Okay. The next chord is going to be just us barring all the way across the 5th fret, or 7th fret, I'm sorry. Okay, that's a B minor kind of chord, so it's a low E 7th fret and then bar the G and the B, 7th fret. Then we move down 2 frets to the A minor, like that. And then the last chord is you bar pretty much the entire 5th fret of from the A to the high E, like that. But you use your pinky on the 7th fret of the high E. Sounds like that. And this kind of reminds me of like kind of like almost like a 7 chord kind of, but it's a little bit more mellow because you're not playing the 5th. Or that F sharp, you kind of just have it like, sounds pretty. Emphasizes this. Okay, so one more time. So we have first chord is our G major 7. Next chord is this other chord here. Next chord is the E minor. Then we move down to that C chord, the B minor chord, A minor chord, and then this D with the B on top, like that. Kind of reminds me of like a C, but anyway, it's a cool sounding chord. That's all I'm trying to say. So now let's play that part, that whole entire section slowly together. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just like that. And you can listen to the way, I forgot his name, Sun Kim. I don't want to get it wrong. But the way he plays it, the guy who's covering the song, just listen to the rhythm. He does kind of mess up a little bit. And again, it's like improvising. He's just playing it on the fly. So he's not worried about timing exactly. It just sounds cool, you know, it just works. But you know, the rhythm, you can listen to probably the original song, you can get it. Dun, 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 dun. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's that kind of thing. Okay, so the second part of the intro. Let me check how much time I spent. Oh my gosh, I've spent 11 minutes. Okay, so it's been so the second part of that intro is the same exact thing. Right? Here we get to the B minor, but then it does this. And then we go to the D. Okay, so let's go over that one more time. So we have the G major 7. We have this E chord here, or G with an E on the bottom, and then like that, and then the E minor, then the C, same exact thing we did earlier, the B, and then this new chord looks like this. Okay, so what I'm doing here is the 6th fret of the low E, 7th fret of the G, 6th fret of the B. You can just play those 3 notes. But this is pretty much an A sharp major 7 chord, or B flat major 7, whatever you want to call it. Right, but it's just that kind of chord, but you're just playing 3 notes. And then we go over to that D. So let me show you what that sounds like in context. Okay. Now we move on to the verse, and let me just play through it one time what that sounds like. Okay. So I'm going to teach you the chords, not the embellishments. You can kind of listen for that if you'd like, because you can hear the chords and then do whatever you want. But the core chords, the main chords of that section, are going to be this chord. It's a G major 7, just like what we played up here. But he plays it like this. Very pretty. I love that voicing. I use it a lot. And it's your thumb on the low E, 3rd fret. You don't play the A, you play, what is that, 5th fret on the D, 4th fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B, and then 2nd fret on the high E. So it sounds like that. When I play all the strings, you don't hear this A ringing out. You're just muting it with your thumb. The next chord is a C major 7 bar chord here on the 3rd fret. So you just bar across, just like how we did up here. You just bar across the 3rd fret from the A to the high E, and it's going to be 7th or 5th fret of the D, 4th fret of the G, 5th fret of the B. That's the chord. And then we move over to this chord, which is kind of like a passing chord. It's a very pretty chord. I like it. And it's like a B minor with the minor 6 emphasized, so B minor 6 maybe. I don't know. I'm just making up names for chords at this point. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm barring across the 2nd fret. I'm only playing from the A string up to the B string, but I'm still barring everything. Okay. And I'm using my pinky 5th fret of the D, second fret is barred on the G string, and my middle finger is playing the B string 3rd fret. Sounds like that. Should be those 4 notes. Very pretty chord, and it's a great passing chord. And then we go to an A minor. I play an A minor 11, which looks like this. And you could just play that, which might be easier, but I'll show you both. So the A minor 11, it's your thumb on the 5th fret, your ring finger on the 5th fret of the D, 5th fret of the G with your pinky, and then your first finger is the 3rd fret of the B. I use that chord a lot when I'm playing guitar. But you could also just bar all the way across 5th fret, like that. Okay? So we go from that to this D kind of like that chord. Kind of like that weird kind of like the diminished voicing, I think. Okay, so what I'm playing here is you play it like this first, which would be middle finger 5th fret of the A string. Your first finger is the 4th fret of the D, and then you bar with your ring finger the 5th fret of the G and the B. So it should be those 4 notes. And then you kind of switch your fingering up a little bit, and you bar across the 4th fret from the D up to the G, or from the D up to like the E, and then you use this kind of chord like that. And that's actually 5th fret with your middle finger on the A, 4th fret of the D, 5th fret of the G, 4th fret of the B. So it kind of has that sound. And then back to that G major 7. And he does this kind of like passing chords. Something like that. I wasn't really paying attention to that. So let's play that verse part in context, okay? I want to keep this video under 30 minutes, like 30 minutes, because it's quite a bit. So let's play this verse. And then he does those passing chords, and then back to the G major 7, and repeats. Okay, so I was just trying to remember what's going on there, because it is a lot of information to process with this kind of music. Okay, I don't play this kind of music all the time, but it is an interesting kind of progression there. So what happens is that we did our verse. Da, 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 Okay, so I think that's what's happening there. We go from ending on that, from the verse, so we go to G major 7, and then we do that C major 7, and that B minor, going to the A, and then from that D, and then we go back into that G major 7, and then this is the start of the chorus. Da-na, na, 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 na. Okay, so we get the C major 7 again. It sounds like this, and then we do that same chord we did earlier for that B minor, but we move it up 1 fret. So it's actually barring the 3rd fret, then you play 6th fret of the D, and then 3rd fret of the G, and then your middle finger is on the 4th fret of the B. It sounds like that. So let me play that one more time. So very slowly. Da, na, 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 na. And then you just move that whole entire shape down 1 fret to the B. And what I like to do there is, again, it gets very complicated very fast. So I'm doing this, we did that, and then down to the B minor. And what I like to play here is an E major 7, or just an E7, and then go into the A minor, and then back into this, and then we go into the G major 7. Okay, so let me slow that down. We have the C major 7, then that chord I just showed you, which looks just like the B minor 7, or the B minor 6, whatever you want to call it, like that, but C. Then we move that down to the B, and then what I like to play is this E7, which is 2nd fret of the A string, 1st fret of the, what is that, the G string, and then all the strings, like that. You just play all the strings. And then you go into the A minor 11, which I showed you earlier, and then we go into that diminished D, and then we repeat the intro at this point. We go to that G major 7. Da, 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 da. And then we repeat the verse. At this point he messes up, or maybe he doesn't mess up, maybe he was going to do something different, but he accidentally goes to the C major 7, but he switches to that G major 7, like, pretty quickly. He must have, I don't know what happened, but he decides, I'm just going to go G major 7. And then we repeat everything we did for the verse. Okay, so there's a few other chords in there and stuff, but just please don't get too unmotivated. If I had more time, I would show you more of that, but it would turn this video like really, really long. So let me just move on to the next section. Let me just show you one thing, actually. He repeats the chorus again, the na 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 na. And I do this chord, and then he goes to this chord is like this is an actual diminished chord, I think, right? Like a flat 5, sharp 7, or whatever it is. And I just play it like this. I bar all of the 7th fret with my finger, my first finger, and then I bar the D string to the G string with my middle finger on the 8th fret, and then 9th fret with my ring finger I play the, what is that, the G string. It sounds like that. 4 notes. And then from there he goes into this like A minor, B minor, that C chord I taught you earlier, up to a D. So you just move that C chord, right, up to a D, 2 frets, and then he goes to that G major 7. And then this brings us to the bridge, which sounds like this. Okay, so I think this will probably be the last part I teach you. I might do the other part in a later video, maybe when I feel a little bit more like solidified in it also. But hopefully this kind of gets you started because it's a interesting song. Okay, so this will be the last part I show you. It's kind of this bridge part. This is after he does a this will be the and you'll recognize it because it has this that kind of thing. Okay, and then it goes back into that. Okay, so this we can call the bridge part, and this will be A minor 11, which is the same chord I was showing you earlier, 5th fret low E, 5 on the D and the G, and then 3rd fret on the B, and then we go into this D, which is what we do on the verse, and then to the G major 7, which I showed you earlier, and then this is a fun part. Beautiful use of the idea of using this diminished voicing and just ascending, and then we resolve. Okay, this is a very, very beautiful use of that. So here we're playing this like F diminished to this G sharp diminished, and then to this B, I think, diminished. Very simple, you know, very, very simple little thing. So one more time. So the bridge is A minor 11, and then we go to that D, and then the D diminished kind of thing to the G major 7, and then we do this chord right here, which is very. So we play barring the 3rd fret. We bar the 3rd fret from the D up to the high E, and you play the 4th fret of the G, 4th fret of the high E. Sounds like that. So it's 4 notes. This will be our F diminished. You move that whole chord up 1, 2, 3 more frets. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then again 1, 2, 3. Very cool. Very simple, right? So let me play that one more time in context, very slowly. Repeat. And here I just stay on the F diminished. And I think he plays that again, maybe one more time or 2 more times, I can't really remember. And then he goes into that last section, which is a little hard to follow. I don't know what the heck is going on completely. I would have to listen to it a little bit more just to really get it down. Okay, so that said, I'm gonna now play all the sections together, and that will finish off the video because it's already at 30 minutes. Okay, so this will be all the sections together. I'm gonna play it relatively slow first and then up to speed. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, going to the chorus. And then back to the intro. Now, let me note one more thing here, just really quick. So he's staying, if you notice in the video, he stays over here. Dun, 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 dun. It's the same as doing it up here. Dun, 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 dun. You know, but you're just doing that G major 7 down here. Okay, so then he, let me just fast forward. I'm going to fast forward to the second chorus, which is done after the second verse. Okay, so the second chorus, we're going to go from this G. Dun, dun. We're going to go to the bridge. And then that's the part where I get lost, because he's saying more of the lyric, and again I call it the reprise, because it's kind of like you're doing what you're doing earlier, but you're changing the chords a little bit. And then he does a few other things, and I don't remember. And then he ends with the intro, which would sound like this. Okay, there's a lot to it. there's a lot to it. My advice is, please take notes and write down as you go what it is I'm showing you. What I usually do in situations like this, which I don't do anymore, but when I was learning, is I would at least kind of write out the chord names. And knowing a little bit of music theory helps a lot. Because like I said here, like I might not know the names of every single chord, which I don't, but I can kind of gauge and be like, well, look, this is an E note, and then this looks like a G, and I have this other note up here, which is like a C. So it's kind of like we're playing a G, but with an E in the bass. And then here we're playing like more like an E minor to the C chord, to the B minor chord, to an A minor chord, to this weird D with a B on top. Sounds cool. Okay, so don't be afraid to write down notes. Do take your time and slow down my video if you need to, or rewind or go back and listen to the original cover, because there's a lot of little tidbits in there that can definitely help you out. And you know, don't be afraid to mess up. Okay, that's kind of the whole idea of this, is that you're going to mess up, and it is going to take some time to get used to, because you're going to be probably playing different chords that you might not be used to, and as well as trying to figure out the timing. Okay, so it might be very easy for you to figure out, or it might take a little bit of time, but it is worthwhile to figure out songs like this. Do it easier first, and then as you kind of learn, that's when you can add in more of these other passing chords, embellishments, a little bit more music theory, you know, because I do hear that he also does, you know, kind of like a, what's it called? I can't think. Substitutions. What are they called? Oh, I can't remember what they're called. They're not triad substitutions. I forgot what they're called. Because a friend of mine, he's really heavy into jazz, so he would love to do a song like this and figure it out. In fact, maybe I'll pass it over to him and see what he can kind of decipher as he learns the song. It probably would be way easier for him to figure out, and I might actually do that. I might actually pass it over to him, and maybe he'll write out a quick little chord chart to maybe help you out. Okay, so that is it. Thank you very much for watching. It is a very long video. I'm sorry, but there's a lot to go over. Do make sure you have your guitar in tune. Do make sure it is set up correctly. That way it doesn't frustrate you more that you're like, oh, I can't even push down on the frets or whatever. Make sure you have new-ish guitar strings. Okay, so this whole song is kind of in the key of G, or G, like G major 7. It's a G major. Okay, so thank you for watching again, and hopefully it helps you out.